and welcome back to the Plant Powered Podcast. Today I've got a little bit of an interesting conversation. Now I will give a warning, it's a little bit verbally graphic if you are vegan and may be sensitive to these kind of topics. But if you're on the fence or just interested to learn, I think it's a really important conversation to have. So, in the weekend I went to a bush doof. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically like a party out in the forest or out in the middle of nowhere. Like we drove 9 hours basically to get to it, and like you even get lost on the way. It's just deep in the forest, and they set up a stage and there's just all these, I'd say it's kind of like a hippie kind of people, like really down to earth, and everyone's just so loving. The girls are so nice to each other, everyone's so caring, and it's honestly just the best time. It's the coolest day I've had this whole entire year. So I went to one of those. I hadn't been to one for 2 or 3 years because of COVID, and that used to be my favorite thing to do in life, so I can't believe I went that long without it. But during the night we ventured down into the forest and we met these people, and they'd set up their van and they'd put this little blanket on the floor with a little lantern, and they brought all these flowers with them and set it all up around, and it was just so cute. And we're sitting there talking to them. So there was two girls and a man, and then the man don't know how to put this in the right way. He pulls out this gun. Well, I think he first pulled out this knife, and it was like this purple kind of hippie looking one, and then he pulls out this gun and we're all like passing it around having a look at it. And I hadn't like held a gun, like a handgun, before. I have shot pumpkins and I've shot tree trunks when I was younger, quite a few years ago, but like I had never held like a handgun before, and we're like, oh wow, this is like really cool. He pulls out this rabbit skin and a fox skin, and I didn't hold it, but everyone out, he was like, oh, I killed these a few weeks ago with this gun and this knife. And I was like, oh, like I don't want to hold it, I'm really grossed out by that, and obviously I would feel sad because I don't like animals to die or be killed. But I had a really interesting conversation with him, and then someone said to him, oh, that Cassie is plant-based, just in case you didn't realize. And he was like, oh really, I'm really interested to learn about that connection, like with your food. And there was no like, oh that's wrong or it doesn't align with my way of eating. He was just interested to know about it, and I was interested to know about his because he said he's a carnivore. I am against the carnivore diet because for many reasons, like health reasons, it's unsustainable, it involves killing and death. But I picked up some really good points that I wanted to share. So I asked him, do you still buy any food from the supermarket? And he said, unfortunately yes, but I do want to get a bow and arrow and eventually be fully self-sufficient. And I think this guy just like lives out in the wild because these are really alternative people. And it just got me thinking that compared to buying some crap from the supermarket that's super processed, like all this salty ass gross bacon and fatty ass mince and those fake sausages, like those little red sausages and party pies and all that kind of meat, is just not good for our health. But compared to something that you catch yourself, it doesn't have anything added to it. The animals are eating a natural diet, they're not fed like all these grains and all this soy and everything like that. They're eating what they would truly eat in the wild. So the meat is more natural and doesn't have all the crap in it as well, or like hormones added to make it grow bigger and antibiotics and all that crap that is used in the traditional farming industry. So even though I don't agree with killing and I wouldn't go hunt my own food, like unless I was dying of course and there's no other food around, I can really respect that he does that, and it's what we would do in the wild. And I think if more people had to hunt and kill their own food, how many more people would be vegan or at least vegetarian? Because a lot of people just don't have that connection with their food. They just go to the supermarket, they buy it off the shelf, and it's just wrapped up in this pack. So me and this guy could both agree that the traditional farming system isn't right, and we have way too much overconsumption. He thinks that people don't have a connection with their food, and I even brought up this really horrible video that I saw of a pig farm and the pigs were being raised for pork and bacon, and this farmer who works there literally got it on video right before he quit or got fired, and the pigs were being fed garbage, literal rubbish, and they were just eating it. So that's what people eat these days, pigs that have been eating garbage.
Responding to deniers, he shows this one.
Y'all believe me now.
Go up the line to that big called a grinder. And it grinds it out. So this is what it looked like when it's done. The hog eat it, and then you eat the hog.
So they're taking this largely packaged food waste, grinding it, heating it up, and feeding it to pigs, according to him, and he does bring receipts. He shows it filling up a feed truck, and yes, this is a process that occurs, so I believe him in this case. So yes, this forbidden Parmesan cheese is literally put into pigs' bodies, which to me is disturbing enough. Poor pigs, I'm sure this makes their life worse in some way, but then people are concerned in general about people then eating those trash-fed pigs.
That's a true story. So me and this guy could both agree upon that. The other thing I've been thinking about lately is the massive supermarket shortages in Australia. I'm not sure if it's worldwide, but because of lots of different reasons, there's been flooding on the road, so truckers haven't been able to get through because of all the self-isolation for close contacts. All these people working in supermarkets and in the food chain lines or distribution channels, they've all been self-isolating, and our supermarket shelves are actually pretty bare. Most of the meat is gone, or there's lots of tofu left and all that kind of thing, which is great for me, but lots of things are gone. All the fresh veggies are off the shelf. Even the dog food was actually almost bare yesterday. There's hardly anything left on the shelf. So that got me thinking about how reliant we are on supermarkets just to provide our food for us. And it's really just about changing our habits. We should be going to more farmers markets, and we should try to do a little bit of gardening ourselves. And I've got a herb garden, and I want to start a veggie garden, so that's on the agenda for this year. And I know it's not practical for everyone to to go out and get their own food, because we are expected to work full time. We need money to pay off our mortgages and to provide for our family. So we don't just have all the time in the world to go out and do that from scratch. But I think it was a really, really interesting lesson learned, and definitely I still agree that plant-based is the healthiest. That's what they eat in the blue zones. There's just hundreds and hundreds of years worth of studies proven that it's the best for disease prevention and longevity. So 100% agree with that. But I think if people are going to eat meat, what they can take from this guy who's going out there and doing it himself, could you look at something in the face, end its life, skin it, degut it, and prepare it, and then eat it? So I think if more people wake up to that idea, it will definitely change a lot more perspectives. So what can we do about this? I think discovering where our food is from, discovering what it takes to get to our plate, what the animals have to go through, the lives they are living, the fact that they're just bred and brought up to be killed for our plate. And I saw this interesting quote or meme the other day, and it said people think that vegan food is expensive, but it literally costs someone their whole life to be on their plate. So definitely making a connection with what we are paying for and eating in line with our values. I'll end this here. It was an interesting little story. I didn't know how to bring it up. Like, yeah, I got to hold a gun in the weekend, and it just sounds like this big crazy story. But I really respect that guy, and I respect that he didn't judge me and I didn't judge him. We just asked questions and learned about each other and got some good information on how we can find middle ground and actually fix and improve our way of eating and how we can look at food differently. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you are interested in more plant-based stuff, don't forget my brand new plant-based muscle building guide is now live. So that's an ebook I wrote for people who are into the vegan and plant-based eating or want to make the switch but are worried about losing their gains and how you're going to make progress at the gym and how you're going to not fade away. So it's packed full of information. Don't forget to check it out. You definitely won't fade away. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Instagram at CassieAmber. with 2 underscores, and that's where I share daily food ideas and lots of nutrition tips and lifestyle advice and all that kind of thing. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.